Gentlemen, like I said, we're about to go into the experience of speaking, and to open the speaking line is none other than the HR thought leader himself. With almost 30 years work experience that cuts across major sectors, with proven track record in leading and executing strategic change. Ladies and gentlemen, he does this to me every time. He wouldn't let me do his introduction because he's well known. No. To me, you want my, let me collect my balance now. Let me do the work. I'll collect my balance. Ladies and gentlemen, Yemi Faeun, please let's put our hands together for him. A keynote speaker for today's event. Please have a good time.
Good evening, everyone. And thank you very much. Thank you. My name is Yemi Faeun, and I humbly recognize all my HR colleagues in the house. And I know that there are many more people who can do justice to the topic given to me, the now of HR. So what I'll do is to, with nerves, quickly run through my presentation in about maybe 20, 25 minutes so that we can have time to have more deliberation. So it's about the now of work, the now of HR. I remember that in 2017 was the last time Ascentech invited me to an event. We had that event at Sheraton, right? Yes, it was at Sheraton in 2017. I was just trying to hone my skills around speaking at that time, but it was a good event. And when I got the invitation that I was going to be part of this event today, I thought I was just going to come sit, enjoy good food, maybe good music, listen to some people. But then I was saddled with the responsibility of the keynote speech. So it's an honor to be part of the growth of Ascentech. It's great to see that there have been some things done in leaps and bounds. It was a very small organization about 6-7 years ago, but right now, the sky looks like it's the starting point. So let's move into my presentation. I'll just quickly talk about the future, the now of work. Because then in 2017, we were talking about the future of work. I remember that most of the conferences we all attended, if you remember, the theme of those conferences was all about the future of work. But we can't be expecting the future anymore. If anything happened to the world in 2020, it was the now. We thought it was IT or technology that was going to really change things dramatically for us, but technology was changing things gradually. It was in gradual steps, but something happened in 2020, and we all woke up one day and our world totally changed, literally, abruptly. For about 6 weeks, if you all remember, sometime in 2020, nobody could go anywhere, and it was a global phenomenon. It wasn't just about Nigeria or Africa or Europe. It was everybody. We were all in a state of apprehension. We all didn't know what was going on because COVID-19 came into our world. And then after 6 weeks, we went through a 2-3 year period where everything about work, the worker, and the workplace changed. Let me use this as an introduction to talk about the millennials. Millennials in the house, can I see you? Millennials like me? No, I'm a Gen Z now. Right? I see some ancestors raising their hands as millennials. Interesting. You see, before the pandemic, the millennials came into the workforce, right? And we were wondering, who are these guys? They could do things differently. They could use technology in a different way. They could solve business problems and challenges in a different way. But they also had their nuances, their behaviors, their own culture, and all that. Remember? And we struggled. From a culture and leadership perspective, the older generation struggled with these guys. But what really always makes me happy is that their reign did not last for too long. It didn't last for too long. Who came into the workforce? The Gen Zs. And then the Gen Zs, some of those millennials were already becoming managers and senior managers and all that. And then they started managing Gen Zs. And guess who was sending the millennials to therapy every day? It was the Gen Zs. But as we're all thinking about that, another generation looks like we are starting the evolution of man all over again. And that's another gen now, the alpha, the generation A, the alpha generation. Like I said, looks like the world is starting all over again. It was X, Y, Z, and now we are starting from A again. But those are the changes that have happened, and it's impacting the place of work. We have conversations on leadership, on culture, on HR, on practices and processes almost on a daily basis. And there's some things we thought were okay for yesterday or last week or last month or last year. All of a sudden, we bring new situations into the workplace and realize that the policies of yesterday will not solve the problems of today. So HR is constantly, therefore, in a space of being dynamic. We can't afford, because the world is changing around us, the profession itself must also change. So the future has happened. We're in the now of HR. I'll talk about the evolution, the now of the workforce. And for me, the workforce is a combination of the worker and the workplace. And then we'll look at the organization itself, the now of HR, 3 domains that I see that we must constantly reinvent the profession, otherwise we'll become dinosaurs, and then we will close after that. Okay, so when was the last time anybody went into a bank to cash a check of 20,000 naira? Anybody? You literally drove into a banking hall and you drop a check and you say you want to cash it. When was the last time anybody did that? If you want a million naira now, how long will it take you? To move money or to collect money, how long will it take you? In seconds. So there were some professions that were seen as very, very, how do I put it? They were the pride of those industries in those years. Everybody wanted to be that in that space. But today, they've become dinosaurs. Who is still thinking of insurance underwriters when there is AI, when there are softwares to do that, when you can move things on the system? The bank tellers, remember, we started, I know a bank, I think it was Bond Bank, and this must have been around 2002. They wanted to differentiate themselves from the market when they got into the Nigerian banking space. And the first thing they said that we were going to recruit graduates as receptionists, as customer service people, and also as tellers, as a differentiating factor, right? But gradually, as technology was taking over functions and roles, the qualifying criteria began to do what? Began to drop. From school start to, from first degree to HND, then OND. But today, if you go into a bank like Standard Chartered Bank, you probably don't need to speak with the teller to do your transaction. I bank with Standard Chartered, Standard Chartered, and my relationship manager called me one day because I lost my relationship manager to Japa. She went to the UK. So another one called me and said, oh, my name is Peace. By the way, I'm your new relationship manager. All well and good. When are we going to meet so that we can have faces to our names? She said, Mr. Yemi, I'm in Port Harcourt. Okay. I'm in Lagos. My relationship manager is in Port Harcourt. How does that work? But does it work? Yes, it works. The new realities, right? So financial analysts, inventory managers, all of that you can do now just by holding a device in your hand. So the now has happened. Even HR managers, just in case we are thinking that we are safe, we might not be safe. ChatGPT, right? Just ask it a question to write you a policy on maternity leave. It will give you almost accurate, just even say for Africa or for a country like Nigeria, so that you can be specific, right? It will give you something accurate in 20 seconds. A friend of mine wanted to read a poem on Lagos, Nigeria, on ChatGPT. And my friend instructed ChatGPT to write a poem about Lagos. When he sent it to me, I had to ask him, was ChatGPT referencing a poem written by a Nigerian or a Lagosian? He said, no, original. And it captured the very essence of Lagos. So if anybody is sitting and thinking, oh, my job is safe till forever, that's unlikely to be possible. Things are changing. And as we are moving jobs away from the horizon, and some skills are also becoming very unnecessary. Not that we don't need them, but those skills must evolve in the workplace. So what are we looking for now? Analytical thinking and innovation. And guess what? It's not about your degree. I am aware of many organizations who are recruiting undergraduates today. Remember that Nigerian labor law, we have to do something about that. You have to go to a university, you have to do NYC, right? After NYC, you now have to start work. You can't be in full-time employment for certain roles if you've not done NYC. But so many of the undergraduates today are in seemingly full-time roles, but they've not even concluded school. Things are changing, right? Emotional intelligence, it's what everybody talks about every day today. The new skills that we require, talent is not enough. Your technical skills are not enough. It's a new world of collaboration and all that. Leadership, social influence, reasoning, problem solving, systems analysis and evaluation, and of course, digital. If you don't have digital skills, and this is not to say that tech is replacing roles, it's to say that all roles are now tech-enabled. You see the difference? All roles have become tech-enabled. So you can do what you're doing today, but you've got to do it with tech in mind. Otherwise, you become a dinosaur. So what are we looking for? Current thinking, or maybe the past of work thinking, was that there must be top-down communication. I am the boss. What must you do when I talk? You listen to me. We prioritize skills over behavior or culture at the workplace. You must be at work at 8 o'clock every day, commute from Omole to VI 2-3 hours every day. You must be at your desk. Is that the same today? Absolutely not. If you give a young graduate $1 million a month today, and you say you can also get vacation days of 30 days, we'll pay for your medical and all that. This is the offer letter. Do you have any question? Who can guess what the question will be? What will be the question? Can I work from home? That's it. Not that the money isn't important. Take home must still take them home. But beyond money, there must be meaning. Beyond salary, there must be sanity. And beyond promotion for them, there must be purpose. So we're looking at open communication now. We're looking at behavior over skills. We're just not enriching shareholders or management staff of the organization. Everybody is saying there must be something in it for me. So when I'm going through that process, even as a candidate, my candidate experience as I'm going through the organization is I'm asking myself, what is in it for me? WIIFM. And it's not a radio station. It's just that I need to know what you have for me as an organization. Right. Moving on quickly. So the changes have happened. Then it was about digital migrants, the ancestors, the baby boomers and all that. They were grappling. I mean, there was a video clip that I put on my Instagram page recently where you have the generations. If you see some people, give them a laptop in this room right now, they'll be picking their keypads, right? But if you give the same laptop to a Gen Z is looking at you and is typing away, and the mistakes are minimal. I don't want to say there are no mistakes, but the mistakes are minimal, you know? So, but that's the reality, because they are digital natives. Do you have nephews and nieces who are 2-3 year olds, and you give them your iPad and go away for 10 minutes? Come back to it. They will have gone into some apps that you didn't know existed on your own device. You paid about $1 million to get that device, but you didn't know those apps existed. And if you're not very careful, give them additional 2 or 3 minutes, they'll crack your passcode. Because they are digital natives, born into digital. We moved away from forms to apps. Gone are the days when you resume and HR had the, HR was very powerful. HR would say, oh, please come into the conference room. And then you sit there for like 3 to 4 hours. What are you feeling? Forms. And then they'll come after 30 minutes. Are you okay? Can you give you coffee and tea? But right now, the new generation is going to ask you. I mean, you knew I was resuming today, right? And we were communicating. You couldn't send all these forms to me via an app or something so that I could fill these forms. We need to move with the realities of the now of work, basically. Before I move away from there, I want to talk about remote working. How many people still travel from the mainland to the island on a daily basis to work? Anybody? The things that you go to do on a daily basis, and I'm looking, don't look away, look at me. The things you go to do on a daily basis, can you do them at home? Can you? Or can you do some of them at home? We can, right? I remember last year, when diesel prices went as high as 1,600, virtually all organizations responded by saying, we'll start closing at 3 o'clock. Who remember that? And then as soon as things normalized a bit, what happened? Everybody come back to work. I am totally aware that not all jobs can be done remotely. My driver cannot say to me on Monday next week, now, okay, I'm working from home. we will have a separate conversation. Or you cannot be in a plane at Heathrow coming back to Lagos and on the PA system, the pilot says, welcome guys, we are taxiing already, but I'm working from home. How many people are going to jump out of that plane from the window? So yeah, not all jobs can be done from home, but if it can be done from home, then it can be done from home. But a lot has changed. You can't tell the current generation that they can't do PP. The older generation grew up with the idea that they can't do any PP. It's your job 8 to 5, it's your job 8 to 5. You can't do anything else. But if you tell the current generation that they can't do a side hustle, you're just wasting your time because they are probably going to agree with you, but I promise you side hustle is going on. Face beating is going on, isn't it, ladies? Photography for the guys, events management. I had somebody who was managing 3 or 4 Uber cars on his fleet. My subordinate, I'm like, I'm still sleeping, You know what I mean? But that's the reality. The transition has happened, and that transition is shaped by the things happening globally and also locally. New behaviors, new technologies, the millennialization of the workforce, mobility, JAPA. The opportunities are now unbounded for the current generation. The things that we couldn't do because we're doing 8 to 5 and we're loyal to the organization, even if the boss was hitting us on the head every day, we look forward to going to work. And then when you tell the younger generation that, yeah, those things built us up for resilience, they say, no, you guys did what? You suffered. And they're not going to go through that. So the changes that have happened from a Dave's perspective, he said that we moved from the HR administration, the personnel management era, you remember? We moved into practices where we're now looking at the body of policies and processes for HR. We moved into HR strategy, and then we're looking for HR business partners. It became a thing, yeah? That way, but Dave is saying that we are currently in the space of HR for context. It is the context of the organization that determines how HR must respond literally on a daily basis to how it must support that organization to win. So what's the context of your organization? What's your sector? All of that, HR cannot sit in the space of just rolling out policies and rolling out processes. It is understanding the context of the organization and therefore be able to support it towards winning in the marketplace. So we are moving, where were we? We were the HR mega message. Let's do HR inside out. Let's administer HR. Let's link HR to strategy. But where we're going, or where we should be right now, is in the space where we're looking from the outside in. It was HR dictating the pace for the business at some point. But no, not anymore. It is the business that must dictate the pace for HR. Because HR is about business. And I think that's what Manu Michael would say. HR is actually business, and business is HR. We can't separate both anymore. The people is the business is the people. So we must understand that business and understand that we are therefore doing things from a business perspective, not because HR wants to win, but because the business must win. We're moving from a place of driving pure internal efficiency to number one, understanding the business context, and therefore define value through the eyes of not just employees, but also customers. Because if you understand the full vertical of how the business makes money, we will understand that we should start also from the customers. So let's not think that HR is not involved in sales, or HR is not involved in supply chain, or HR is not involved in customer service. We are involved in all of that so that we can drive value for the organization. We are moving away from building talent and improving employee results to a situation where all we are doing is, one, increase employee productivity because no business, no HR, no people. Improve organizational capabilities from a culture process perspective. And this is the one that I like, ensure that leadership understands what it should be doing. Because transformational HR is totally impossible without inspirational leadership. And the last one, what should we do? Restructure HR department. That's what we're doing. But now we're saying, let's build a fit-for-purpose HR department. So the shift is happening, or the shift has happened. Now, the 3 domains that I was talking about, the workforce itself, alternative workforce. If you tell, I'm sure you know 2 or 3 people right now who live in Nigeria, but they work for companies outside the country. Yeah? Anybody? As I speak now, what time is it? Okay, I know somebody who woke up about 2 hours ago, started work about 1 hour ago, because he lives in Omali and works in Brazil. My friend's son. And he said to his dad, I didn't know that life is this easy. I could stay in Omali, work in Brazil, and is any work currency? Dollars. So the alternative workforce that we're all running away from has happened now. I know individuals who, and somebody just yesterday, a young person who is the legal department of a multinational, but she's like an executive assistant, but she's going through some moments of uncertainty concerning career. And the last question she asked me from a mentoring perspective yesterday was, Yemi, can I start my own consulting? I'm like, no, calm down. Right? Because the new generation is always looking for opportunities to do additional things or to do more. We can't gag them anymore. The alternative workforce is here to stay. We are moving from one job, 8 to 5, 35 years to super jobs. An individual can move from sales to HR to supply chain to anything once the transferable skills are existent. And guess what? The opportunity to pick up those skills are so available now. And at times, free. On LinkedIn, on Coursera, so many platforms offering free opportunities to people to literally be super job holders rather than do one job for 25 years as it was in the past. And leadership, I mean, that's very close to my heart. Leadership, the leadership competencies that were great for 25 years ago or 10 years ago or 5 years ago, if you continue with the same leadership competencies in today's now of work, you are just going to wake up one day and you realize that nobody is in the organization. Because leadership must drive culture. Leadership must work hand in hand with HR to drive culture. So HR needs to focus a lot on leadership, the intersection between the traditional and the new. And guess what? The traditional is going away. It's giving way at a very, very fast rate. Winding down gradually, the now of the workplace itself has changed. We are moving from employee experience to human experience. People have said that we should put H back into HR, right? No, I'm saying that let us put H back into human. Because it's not just about HR, it's about leadership, it's about the entire organization, right? The organization performance is realizing more and more that teamwork is more important than individual contribution. Because people can be in any part of the world and they can work together because of the leveraging opportunities around technology, isn't it? So we can have Ascentech Nigeria, Ascentech Ghana, Ascentech Australia, and we can have a team representing the different localities, and we can still do projects, can't we? Yes, we can. So we need to realize, therefore, that things are changing. The rewarding individuals is giving way to rewarding teams, because teams make organizations. And of course, from a reward perspective, we also need to close the gap. HR itself, it's no longer about talent acquisition. In fact, if you see anybody who's still using talent acquisition manager, this is probably the time for us to change that particular role. We're not acquiring talent anymore. What are we doing to talent? What are we doing to talent? We're embracing talent. You know, remember that at some point we're looking for talent, right? And we do everything possible. We ask questions. But today, talents are the ones asking us questions. And they ask those questions before they come for the interview. They will have asked their colleagues. They will have gone on LinkedIn. They will have gone to Glassdoor. And I have very many instances of younger people who said to me, Yemi, finally I got another job. I'm like, congratulations. And then a week later, Yemi, I'm not resuming. What happened? I heard X, Y, Z about the organization or about my manager. So a lot must change around how we view talent. We're not acquiring them. In fact, talents are acquiring organizations in the now of work. Learning is in the flow of life. A hotel will have lost a lot of money now between 2020 and 2023 because every training will go to a hotel or will go to Radisson Blue or will go to... This is Radisson Blue. So that we can have a training in a classroom like this. But training has become something that is in the flow of life. As we're here now, some people might be in a training class. Let's not kid ourselves. Is that possible? Yeah, it's possible. So, like I said, trading is in the flow of life. All that is changing and talent mobility. But let's win the talent war from the home front. And this is where I want to talk a bit about Japa. I know that many organizations and many leaders are panicking about the Japa syndrome. And what I say is don't panic, plan. Those who have gone, there is literally nothing you can do about it. They've gone, right? But you still have a captive workforce. Like you're all listening to me now, you are my captive audience. You don't have a choice but to listen to me, right? So those who have not resigned, they are still the captive audience. What can we do to make sure that we extend not just the physical contract of employment with them, but the psychological contract that they have with the organization through the right culture, through the right leadership, and through the right employee experience. So what must change? The enablers of HR have changed. The mindset, the focus, the lenses through which we see HR, all that has changed. So let me leave you with the new leadership competencies for HR if you've not started this journey in the now of work. Business acumen. We've said it. If you don't understand the business, you can't support the business. Data mindset, design thinking. Lara cannot have enough of that. We always talk about design thinking. Creativity, collaboration, and communication. Diversity and inclusion, not something we mouth anymore. It has become part of what must be done. Must be done to the point that the CBN actually regulates the percentage of women on the management and board of banks in Nigeria. It is that serious. So HR must be conscious of it. And this is not just about gender. It cuts across different areas. Diversity and inclusion is not just about gender. If you have an organization where the entire workforce are ancestors, what are you likely to get? And if you also have one where the entire workforce is made of Gen Zs and millennials, what are you likely to get? It won't work. We need the wisdom of the old generation, and we need the agility of the new generation as well. Tech-driven HR, cognitive flexibility, thinking about different things and how they impact the business almost literally at the same time, critical thinking, complex problem solving. These are the areas where the business or the businesses that we support as HR people are looking at us for value-adding daily advisory. Somebody asked me yesterday and said, Yemi, is it that they don't give HR a seat in the room or HR is not entitled to a seat in the room? My response, if we have all of these resident in HR of the now of work, then HR will be invited into the room. In fact, there will be a special seat for HR in that room. So let's rethink HR. Let's refresh leadership. Let's refresh the human experience that we give the employee or the workforce. Let's also refresh how teams are constituted. We also need to rewire the alternative workforce, change your policies, accommodate them. You don't have a choice. The tech guys, if you want to keep them and say to them that they work with only you, you're just kidding yourself. It's not going to happen. And it's moving from tech to other professions as well. So you need to rewire how you look at your alternative workforce, how you access talent, and also technology around HR. And let's recode super jobs. Let's recode talent mobility. Mobility within first, then without. Your captive audience, what are you doing with them so that you can have a solid succession plan in place? When people japa, let's go to the bench strength. So if Arsenal is playing, up Gunners. Thank you. So if Arsenal is playing and you don't have a solid bench strength and you are playing against Man City, the results will be 3-1. Okay. And then, but I support Arsenal, but that's the reality. Your bench strength must be solid so that when people japa during the game, there is injury, or they're not playing very well, where do you make a recourse to? Your bench strength. So win the war for talent first within the organization before we start going out for other talent. That's where I'm going to stop. Thank you very much for listening. All right. Thank you.
I think we can do better by giving a round of applause to our keynote speaker, Mr. Yemi Faeun of the YF Network, thank you so much once again.